A Fox News host attempted to downplay the significance of Republicans' recent losing streak and was immediately shut down by his co-host. Well, we are back to the wonderful, the fantastic Jessica Tarlov. She's, of course, the liberal Fox host on Fox News' The Five, where she routinely humiliates her fellow co-hosts. This one is really fantastic. We'll actually look at two moments from this episode of The Five. First, a back and forth between Jesse Watters and Jessica Tarlov, and then possibly more interestingly, wacky Jeanine Pirro acknowledging why Republicans are so unpopular, especially on the issue of abortion rights. Really interesting stuff. First, let's watch this, then I'll break down the context for you.
So, abortion and cash, Jessica, is that the story of last night?
And pot.
And pot. Yeah. Abortion, cash,
don't
and pot.
forget about our marijuana. No, that's not the only story. The main headline is Democrats continue to overperform in the Biden era. It's just, you can't dispute it. It is blowing the polling out of the water. Republicans haven't really had a good showing since Trump won in 2016. And they really, and I know that there are a lot of them, deeply conservative people that are coming around to the idea that Donald Trump loses himself elections and he loses the people that he endorses.
Well, elections. They took the House in 2000, right?
2020.
20, yeah.
Yeah, by 3 seats. So remember it was 2022.
16.
That was your red wave. Remember when you said, I'm getting a 40-seat wave, and then you got 3 seats and a George Santos?
Oh, don't remind me.
Okay.
So much about that clip is hilarious. To start, Jesse Watters' noticeable confusion is entertaining. First referring to the 2022 midterms as the 2000 election, then correcting himself, but not correcting himself and saying the 2020 election. Obviously, that's less important than the point he was trying to make. He was attempting to downplay how much Republicans have been losing ever since Trump got into politics by saying, well, didn't they win back the House in the 2022 midterms, which is when Jessica Tarlov rightfully throws in his face his own prediction before the 2022 midterms that Republicans would destroy Democrats and get a massive 30-40 seat majority. And of course, one guy's prediction isn't that significant, but the reason even Republicans consider the midterms a loss is because historically in a midterm election, whichever party won the White House 2 years before gets trounced. And the polls seem to indicate the Republicans would win by a much bigger, possibly huge margin and potentially win the Senate as well. But they, of course, lost the Senate and barely got a majority in the House of Representatives, which was embarrassing for them. And many of them acknowledged that. Everything was in their favor. The polls, inflation being blamed on Joe Biden, Biden's unpopularity, like I said, historical trends. But Democrats shocked the expectations and way overperformed, luckily. The reason for that was in large part because of Trump-backed candidates face planting, as we've covered extensively, and abortion rights. And that's what we saw again in Tuesday night's elections in states like Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky. Abortion rights and Democrats prevailed while Republicans and Trump-backed candidates lost. Before getting to Jeanine Pirro realizing how unpopular her party is on abortion rights, we'll watch that clip in just a moment. But first, here is a bit of a really interesting segment a little while ago that MSNBC's Chris Hayes did about how Democrats have been overperforming the polls and all expectations time and time again in recent elections, and how that could be a predictor for 2024.
30 different special elections so far in 2023. These are all different districts, legislative state districts, all over the country. Again, in areas with different profiles demographically, different politics. When you look through this list, you see Democrats overperforming their baseline over and over and over again. In fact, that is the case in 24 out of these 30 races. Now, in some instances where you see these big Democratic swings, the Republican candidate still won the election, but they won by a lot less than you would expect. Look at one of the first special elections of the year. It's in Virginia's 24th House District. The Republican won resoundingly by 25 points, but that was a 14-point underperformance for the party. Or look at Pennsylvania's 35th House District. Democrat won by 49 points, overperforming for the district by 37. Even in Kentucky, the Democrats swung Senate District 19 29 points to the left. And we've seen it in Georgia and in Wisconsin, in New York, in Louisiana, in Maine, and Tennessee. The combined average of all 30 of these races, again, a somewhat random sample of the country, shows Democrats overperforming the baseline margin by 11 points. This is a real phenomenon. It's really there. It's not polling. It's real. It represents what you might even cheekily call the silent majority. Folks showing up to register their preference in the only polls that really matter.
I mean, that's massive. And while, yes, Biden's poll numbers are bad and there are lots of issues going into 2024, increasingly, I'm pretty confident the Democrats will prevail, especially if Trump, which he's going to be, is the nominee on the other side. America is sick of MAGA extremism and sick of these insane stances on abortion coming from Republicans and these abortion bans. People are watching these sorts of policies be implemented across the country and are then doing in response what they can when they have the chance to stand up for their rights, as we saw again in Tuesday night's election results. Now, here was Jeanine Pirro during this same show acknowledging these facts.
I look at it a little simpler. To me, it was about Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Purple states, 2 red states, Democrats winning. And the issue of abortion is one that Republicans either have to get straight on or they're going to lose on it. And the way they lose, they can't ignore it. They can't make believe it's not there. So the question is, how do you handle it? Well, it's not really how the Republicans handle it, because right now they don't have 60 votes in the Senate. So stop trying to pass a federal legislation. It's not going to happen. You're creating unnecessary turmoil for Republican candidates down the ticket. The truth is that when Bashir went out there and I prosecuted those cases with the 12-year-old girls and the 10-year-old girls. You know, Cameron, who is a great AG, supported not just by Trump, but supported by McConnell. He tried to change his, go a little more left. It didn't matter. Women want freedom. And what's going to happen is that dozens of states are literally going to put these abortion initiatives, I don't care what you call it, privacy, I don't care. They know what they're reading, and they're going to win on that. Mm-hmm. And Republicans have to understand this is not an issue they win on. This happened in 2022, it's 2023, and 2024 is right around the corner. And so all you have to do is throw out that word for Democrats. They want to defend it, and it motivates them. And it only helps the Democrats.
And she is exactly correct, which is not something I say in reference to Jeanine Pirro very often. I mean, Ohio voted on Tuesday night to enshrine abortion rights into their constitution, a state that Donald Trump won in 2020. And on two fronts, it seems Republicans just are not learning their lesson: abortion and MAGA extremism. We've seen in 2020, 2022, 2023, Trump-backed candidates get trounced time and time again. As I said in a past segment, Republican primary voters just don't care. They prefer Trump over winning. They just can't let go of him. And at least up until this point, this one might change, but so far they have refused to moderate their stance on abortion rights as well. And so like clockwork, they are losing when those issues are associated with elections, and they're going to be going forward. And it used to be in politics that repetitive losing would teach a political movement their lesson, because you can't do anything if you don't win. But this movement is strange, to say the least, so maybe they'll just keep losing and choosing Donald Trump and choosing extreme candidates on the issue of abortion. Now, Jeanine Pirro brought up Andy Bashir hitting Daniel Cameron on his extreme views on abortion rights in the gubernatorial campaign. Here is an ad that gives you a sense of why the citizens of Kentucky voted to re-elect a Democratic governor.
I was raped by my stepfather after years of sexual abuse. I was 12. Anyone who believes there should be no exceptions for rape and incest could never understand what it's like to stand in my shoes. This is to you, Daniel Cameron. To tell a 12-year-old girl she must have the baby of her stepfather who raped her is unthinkable. I'm speaking out because women and girls need to have options. Daniel Cameron would give us none.
For the sake of the rights and well-being of people in this country, I hope this trend continues and Republicans just keep losing. Before we go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasley.com/membership to get access to a daily bonus show, entire bonus show, Monday through Friday. So exciting. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, and X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a free morning newsletter that summarizes the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief, and I'll talk to you next time.